When I first started inspecting homes as a building biology practitioner, there was this one pattern that kept showing up that I really couldn't ignore. I'd walk into homes where the humidity was controlled. Leaks had been fixed, ventilation was fine, yet the family was still struggling with recurring mold and chronic symptoms. And these weren't families ignoring their home's health. They were parents doing everything right. But then something really interesting kept happening. As I moved through these homes with my EMF meter, I started noticing clusters. The highest EMF readings were almost always located near the spots with the worst mold, behind cabinets with smart switches, bathrooms with wireless fans, basement routers, bedrooms with mesh Wi-Fi units. And this happened in home after home. That pattern sent me down a research rabbit hole, and what I found was fascinating. Lab studies are showing that certain types of mold grow faster, reproduce more, and change their enzyme activity when they're in closer proximity to EMFs. So no, EMFs don't create mold. Moisture is still the foundation, but EMFs may act as an environmental stressor, pushing mold into a more active, aggressive state. And this isn't about fear. It's about awareness and giving you the right tools to build a truly healthy home. Welcome back. I'm Amanda. I'm a building biology practitioner and a healthy home expert. I'm a certified home inspector and the owner and creator of Healthy House on the Block, where I empower you with information, steps, and knowledge to create a healthier home, one that actually supports your health and wellness. Today, I'm really excited to share with you some new information that has come out linking EMFs to mold activity in our home. And essentially, the mold we have today is not your grandma's mold. It has changed over time due to our technology and how we use wireless routers, wireless objects throughout our home. Electromagnetic fields are invisible forces, and they're produced anytime electricity flows or wireless signal is transmitted. So in a typical home, EMF sources can include wiring and circuits even. These are creating electric and magnetic fields. But then we also have devices such as Wi-Fi routers, smart meters, cordless phones, baby monitors, and other wireless electronics. And what these are doing is they're emitting radio frequency, or RF, radiation. So these fields, they're omnipresent in modern homes, which means they're kind of everywhere. You can't escape them. And while much of the research on EMFs has focused on human health, there's a growing body of science that's actually examining their effects on microorganisms, fungi, and mold included. So there was a study published very recently that exposed 3 species of fungi to EMFs at like a 900 megahertz exposure, and then there was one at an 1800 megahertz exposure. So these frequencies, just to kind of give you an idea, are common in mobile communication, so your cell phones. And what researchers found was that exposure at the 900 megahertz frequency actually stimulated growth. So in other words, under certain EMF conditions, fungi responded with more aggressive growth behavior than when they were not exposed. There was also another peer-reviewed study that exposed fungus. Aspergillus was one of them. This is one of the most common molds in a home, to radio frequency EMFs. And what it saw was there was a 3-fold increase in secreted proteins and a significant rise in enzyme activity. And this was compared with the unexposed controls. So they had some that were exposed, some were not. What the study also observed was that EMF exposure can actually catalyze deep cellular changes in the fungus. So it's going beyond just kind of surface level behavior of growth. It's actually working at a cellular level. So in these studies, EMF did not always accelerate growth. Effects depended strongly on the actual species that they were testing, the type of field, and the other environmental conditions. But that variability speaks to the complexity of this kind of biological response to electromagnetic stress and to the need for caution when kind of looking at this in the sense of our health and our homes. Are you a little unsure about where you even should be starting with a healthy house? Like, what are the first steps? After 10 plus years of hands-on experience, I know what those first steps are, and I know the steps to take that won't have you spending lots of money in the beginning, but will get you excited for all of the changes and all the potential that your house has. The truth is, creating a healthy house doesn't have to be really expensive. It doesn't have to be really complicated. You just have to know the exact steps to take. Anybody can check things off a list, and that's exactly what I'm here to help you do. My free ebook is an amazing resource to help you get started on getting toxins out of your house and creating healthier habits, and also planning for the future for some of those bigger changes. So if we project these lab findings into our real homes, a plausible scenario kind of emerges in rooms with elevated EMF exposure. So this would be near routers, near meters, or clusters of electronics. If there is mold present, it may react differently than we would expect in another area of the house. So rather than passive spores waiting for moisture, they can actually grow more aggressively, reproduce more readily, and secrete higher amounts of protein or enzymes. And what this does is it contributes to mycotoxin production under the right substrate and moisture conditions. So we're seeing an increase in all of these. And over time, even the modest dampness or condensation can actually become enough to feed a fungal colony or a mold colony that's already been kind of almost primed by EMF exposure. So for homeowners, this actually means that traditional mold prevention strategies, keeping your basement dry, fixing leaks, using a dehumidifier, it might not be sufficient in isolation. We also have to look at these EMF exposures. And so if EMF exposure coincides with these damp areas that we're talking about, mold risks can actually be higher than expected. And this can kind of explain why some people experience persistent mold despite controlling moisture thoroughly. So mold exposure alone can trigger a range of health issues. It can be anything from just mild respiratory irritation all the way to allergies, fatigue, headaches, skin reactions, and more. It can become a lifelong issue that your body is really dealing with. But the concern deepens when mold is more active and when it's producing more spores and potentially those mycotoxins. That EMF exposure can kind of enhance mold activity, at least in some species, also suggests that there's an increased mycotoxin risk. So mycotoxins are very harmful to the body. Mycotoxins are what is generally making people the most sick in homes that have mold. And for households with children, or maybe a pregnant family member, even individuals with chemical sensitivities or immune vulnerabilities, these mycotoxins that are being triggered to produce more frequently and with more of an aggressive nature can really be a heightened health risk. Even absolute risk remains uncertain. And this is why it's so important to be aware of amplified mold growth when it comes to these EMFs. So if you suspect mold in your house, or maybe you just want to be proactive, you want to start by evaluating both moisture conditions and EMF exposure. So use an EMF meter and you can scan areas near routers, near smart meters, electrical panels, and where you have clusters of electronics. This is especially important near sleeping areas, or now that we're finding out more, in damp zones. So at the same time, you can also conduct a moisture assessment. You can inspect basements, crawl spaces, behind cabinetry or appliances if you have access. Bathrooms are a big one, and laundry areas. You can also check for hidden leaks or condensation. Even some evidence of past moisture intrusion will be helpful. So where possible, use a moisture meter that you can even just purchase off of Amazon or in a hardware store to detect hidden dampness behind areas before visible mold appears. So you want to take note if you see mold growth, if you smell a musty odor, and it appears in proximity to high EMF areas that you have found. It doesn't prove that this is going to be an issue, but it does raise a red flag that might warrant further investigation by you or a professional. And you want to document overlapping EMF and moisture issues to strengthen your case to decide if you need to bring in a professional for a deeper healthy home assessment. Now, turning awareness into action, it does not need to be overwhelming. You can make small changes and they will add up to make a meaningful difference. You could consider relocating wireless routers, or even better, hardwiring some of your internet or devices throughout your home. You can actually get cages. They're called Faraday cages that will go around smart meters or other items in your home that emit radio frequency fields. If you have cordless devices, keep them away from damp or moisture prone areas, and distance sleeping areas from high EMF zones. Switch to wired for anything you absolutely can when possible, and avoid clustering electronics in areas where air circulation is poor. Now, at the same time, we also need to maintain good moisture control. So run dehumidifiers if needed, and ensure proper ventilation in kitchens, in bathrooms, basements, and crawl spaces, and repair any leak you see promptly. Use leak detectors in areas that you won't be visiting frequently, and make sure that you have a good handle on condensation in your house, either wiping it off or preventing it from the get-go. Now, even though these studies give us an idea of how EMFs and mold are connected, beyond this controlled laboratory setting that they set up, real homes present variable and interacting factors. Building materials, HVAC systems, moisture sources, even your airflow and temperature fluctuations in your home all influence both EMF distribution and also mold behavior. So that is why it's so important to really stay informed by following new research, especially when it comes to the health of your home. Microbiology and indoor environmental journals are really important to stay up on, because as science evolves, we can gain a clear guidance on safe exposure levels, effective mitigation strategies, and how these EMFs and mold are interacting in real homes. So if you suspect that your home has these overlapping risk factors, whether it's persistent mold, even if you have really good moisture control, or there's unexplained allergic or respiratory symptoms in yourself or family members, or you have seen that you have high EMF zones near damp areas, it might be worth it to bring in a qualified healthy home professional. They can do a comprehensive evaluation, and it usually includes EMF mapping, moisture detection, which includes hidden leaks and condensation, and you can get separate mold testing, either surfaces or air, and then indoor air quality measurements. And for families with children or chemical sensitivities or immune vulnerabilities, these detailed assessments offer so much clarity, and it really helps guide you to remediation or mitigation strategies based on your home's unique circumstances. As always, thank you so much for being here. I hope you can take at least one idea from this week's video and blog post and really apply it in your own space to make it healthier. If you did find this video helpful, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because I'm here every single week with new tips, new ideas, new steps in creating a home that actually supports your health and wellness rather than one that burdens it down.